Okay, we're live, so I'll look to my clerk for a roll call, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the January 12th, 2026 council meeting. I'm Jennifer Connor, Clerk of Ramara Township, and I will begin with roll call of council. Mayor Clark,
Present.
Deputy Mayor Bell,
Present.
Councillor Snutch,
Present.
Councillor Fisher,
Present.
Councillor Tuyu,
Present.
Councillor Goff,
Present.
Councillor Bell.
Present.
Back to you, Your Worship.
Thank you.
Meeting is being streamed live on the Township of Ramara YouTube channel. Be advised that by attending a public meeting of the Council of the Township of Ramara, you are consenting to your image, voice, and comments being recorded and will form a part of the public record. The chair, CAO, and/or clerk have the discretion and authority to terminate or interrupt the live streaming in exceptional circumstances where the content of debate is considered inappropriate to be published. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have section 4.3.4 of our procedure bylaw. Councillor Bell.
Thank you. I regret any misunderstanding arising from my effort to seek clarity on procurement compliance. My intention remains to fulfill my duty to ensure transparency, fiscal responsibility, and adherence to council's own policies on behalf of Ramara's residents.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. I'd look for a mover and a seconder to accept the apology from Councillor Bell. I'm not seeing any. They don't feel that was a proper apology, Councillor.
Thank you. So there is no actual requirement for an apology other than Ramara's Ramara's procedure bylaw requires a statement of apology, which I have offered my regret. So I don't feel that there's anything else required under the Municipal Act or Ramara's procedure bylaw.
So you regret for disrupting the meeting?
No, my regret is that I attempted to lawfully ask questions. I'm sorry that I misunderstood the 25 and 26 procurement or expenditures were in the one report. But at the end of the day, the question, where were the public tender openings posted? How could the public attend? And where is that committee report that is supposed to arise from tender openings under Ramara's own policy? Those questions have not been answered. So I can't apologize for asking questions.
We're not in a debate over the tender bylaw. We're waiting for you to. You were removed from the meeting, not for asking questions, for disrupting the meeting. Because you were speaking of agenda items that were not on the agenda, and you're speaking on items that are not on the agenda now. It's simply council looking for an apology for disrupting the meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry if you felt I was disruptive when I was trying to have my
I didn't feel one way or the other, Councillor. My feelings are irrelevant. I don't bring my feelings to the meetings. My feelings are absolutely irrelevant to you or any other member of council. You were removed for disrupting the meeting.
I think we have a misunderstanding. I can't apologize when you call a point of order when I'm raising a legitimate question. Points of order are not for raising of legitimate questions. I don't have the answer.
Excuse me, Councillor, I'm not in a debate, so I will ask the Councillor to be removed. The apology wasn't accepted by Council. This is not a debate. I will ask the Councillor to be removed from the table.
Thank you, as always,
no mover and a seconder.
Through you, Your Worship, we should have a motion to reflect. So if you would just give us your indulgence while we prepare the appropriate motion so that the record can reflect. Through you, Your Worship, we'll put that on the screen momentarily.
Thank you.
Through your worship, what we'll put on the screen is a motion that that council accept the apology, which based on the conversation that we've heard, your worship, there won't be an acceptance of that.
I
And then,
don't even a mover and a seconder. That
Yeah.
was the trouble.
yeah, if I can, your worship, if we can get this on the floor so that it ultimately would then not be accepted.
Okay.
And then what we would do is introduce the following motion, which would suggest that the counselor not be able to retake her seat. So if you'll just let us go through that process.
All right. So I have the deputy mayor said he'd move it. Councillor Goff said he'd second it. All in favor of the motion on the screen?
I'd like to speak to the motion.
No, you have an apology. The motion is on the apologies. No, there's
A
actually no
procedure
debate on
bylaw
it.
governs meeting order. It can't be applied in a way that prevents a member from
Yes,
carrying out
hang
their
on. I'm getting
statutory duties.
clarification, Councillor.
Through your worship, this particular matter is a direction that ultimately is without debate. So consequently, you can call for the vote. And
You're
then we can
correct. It is
introduce
without
the next.
debate, meaning the apology must be accepted under the Municipal Act.
Yeah. So all in favor of the motion on the floor? I have none.
Your
That
worship.
is defeated. Any, well, all opposed and all opposed? That motion is defeated. So I have another motion. Yes. I need another motion now.
As noted, respectfully, council procedure cannot be enforced in a manner that defeats statutory accountability obligations.
Whereas at the November 24th, 2025 council meeting pursuant to section 241(2) of the Municipal Act 2001, Councillor Bell was expelled from the meeting for disorderly conduct in accordance with section 18.1 of the Township's Code of Conduct. And whereas sections 4.3G and 4.4I of the procedure bylaw dictate that members shall leave their seat immediately if expelled from the meeting by the presiding officer due to disorderly conduct until such time as a public apology is made by the member. No member shall be permitted to retake their seat at any meeting after being ordered by the presiding officer to vacate the meeting after committing a breach of any rule without making apology and consent of a majority of the other members present, determined without debate. And whereas a majority of the other members present, determined without debate, did not consent to Councillor Bell retaking her seat at the January 12th, 2026 council meeting as required under section 4.41 of the Township's procedure bylaw. Therefore, be it resolved that Councillor Bell shall not be permitted to retake her seat at the January 12th, 2026 council meeting, and that if Councillor Bell does not provide the accepted apology required by procedure bylaw sections 4.3G and 4.4I at the next council meeting, staff be directed to seek legal advice on next steps.
Okay, can I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Goff, second by Councillor Fisher. All in favor of the motion? That is carried. Thank you. I will move on to the approval of the agenda now. So I'd look, and there's going to be an amendment to the agenda. We've got some addendums and apologize to the folks. There were some letters written to council on a planning application today that we didn't get sent out. It is all on the agenda. So you, including myself, will have to refresh our agendas and those letters. I will assure the members of the public, all of council did receive the letters, but it wasn't on the council agenda and we wanted to get them here. So with that, I'll look for an amended motion, Madam Clerk.
That the council agenda dated January 12th, 2026 be adopted as amended to reflect the order in which matters listed on the agenda will be discussed and to include the addendum.
To the addendum, moved by Councillor Goff, second by Councillor Tuyu. All in favor of the agenda. And again, you'll have to refresh, Dave, to get it. All in favor, that is carried. Do I have a disclosure of pecuniary interest by any member of council? Councillor Bell, or Deputy Mayor Bell.
Yeah, I think it's 11.5 and 14.11. It'll be something, it's a direct pecuniary interest of my companies who does business with this company.
Okay, thank you. Don't think we have any others. Don't remember reading any. Announcements. Yes, I've got a few, but why don't I start out with CEO Jackson, if you'd like to introduce Ryan, our newest member of our Ramara team. Ramara family, I should say.
Thank you, Your Worship. And we're excited to have Ryan here. Ryan Matson is the newest addition to the Township of Ramara staff group, and he is our Director of Legal Services and Township Solicitor. And if I can, maybe, Your Worship, if it's okay, maybe Ryan might want to say a few words.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to introduce myself, Your Worship, Council. My name is Ryan Matson, as Gail indicated. I'm a proud resident of Ramara and look forward to the opportunity to evaluate and implement any opportunities for improvement where appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome aboard. Glad to have you. With that, I've got a few announcements here, and I'll announce it again, even though it's been advertised quite a bit. The recycling changes this week marks the first week of residential recycling collection in Ramara under the new province-wide program, which is managed by Circular Materials. As part of this change, recycling is no longer collected by County of Simcoe. Based on this transition, the Simcoe County Collects app and calendar no longer include the recycling schedule. A full schedule and detailed information about the new program could be found at circularmaterials.ca/Ramara. Residents should continue to place recycling out at their regular collection day. However, pickup times may vary. Now you're going to see the county truck come down and the other truck will get there at a different time. We are aware that some of the communities have experienced delays, and that is to be expected anytime, even Simcoe County, when we get a new contractor. There's always issues at the start. And again, this is a provincial contract, which is no longer in our hands. You're encouraged to contact MTerra directly at 1-888-597-1541 or by email at customercareontario@mterra, EMTERRA.ca. And in that way, you can follow up in any of your recycling issues. I want to thank all the operating crews over the Christmas holidays, and I hope everybody had a great holiday. I know I certainly did, but I know our work crews were out a lot of those evenings to the wee hours trying to keep the roads open so that we could get to the destinations that we all wanted to be. And another close call on an ice storm. I was watching the trees very closely and the hydro wires at my place, but we got through with, I would say, minimal damage this time. We certainly didn't need another 100-year storm coming 2 years in a row, but kudos to the working crews that kept us moving over the holiday. Aurelia Area Food Strategy. Finally, I'd like to highlight the important opportunity for our local farmers and food businesses to help shape the future of our regional food system. As part of the Aurelia and Area Food Strategy, farmers and food businesses, partners from across our area are invited to attend a working session to identify ways we can strengthen our local food systems on Thursday, January 29th at the Aurelia Public Library. To learn more or sign up, please visit sharingplaceaurelia.org. And lastly, our feeding campaigns. Feeding Families campaign. I want to thank the community. I'd like to extend a big thank you for the incredible support shown through our 2025 Feeding Families campaign. Our residents and businesses and community partners all raised more than $9,500 to support local families and children during this season. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the effort that the folks and the volunteers put into sharing with others. Any other new announcements from members of council over the holidays? Deputy Mayor.
New owners have taken over the Lagoon City Marina. It's been rebranded as I think it's the Grand Marina, I believe it is. I could be wrong on that, but they're a great family. They've been in development for a very long time. They've been in newspaper. They've been in the airport industry. They're well-known family. So we're pretty lucky to have them coming to Ramara Township, and it's exciting to see what's going to happen in the near future.
Great.
Oh,
Awesome.
one other thing too.
Yep.
Today, we lost a good friend last year, Terry Pierce. He was an NHL official, and cheers to him up in heaven there. It's his birthday. It would have been his 80th today. So I think that's right.
And I will mention it. Celebration of Life took place yesterday for one of our former employees, John Bickle, who I went to school with all the way from kindergarten. John is the one individual, if I had to say, who was responsible for building the Ramara Center soccer fields. If there was a one man or person candidate out there that did it, I mean, John built those fields. When he worked for the township, he volunteered his time after hours. He got donations from places like Lafarge and some of our local businesses, used the township equipment as an employee, but volunteered all his time to create those wonderful soccer fields we have today. So one of our local heroes has passed away. So John will be missed. Any other members? Councillor Goff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last Friday, I attended a lunch at the Brecken Legion and got a tour of their renovations, and they're getting very, very close to getting their occupancy permit. So hopefully in the next week or so, they'll have their occupancy permit and be able to use the renovated basement area. So
Wow, that will be exciting. Just in time for the golf tournament that I think is
Yeah.
coming up.
I believe that's the whole
Councillor
plan.
Fisher, you're going to make that announcement.
Sorry, David, I didn't have my mic on. I'll start that again. The indoor golf tournament at the Brecken Legion is on the 24th of January. Registration's at 11, tee off is at noon. It's $20. There's also opportunities for raffle prizes and other prizes as well. They do have an ATM there, but it quickly runs out of money. So just remember to bring some cash to pay for. You can sign up the day of, or you can get a hold of the folks at the Legion and they can help hook you up. Some of the things that I have done in the past month or so since we met last is I've really participated a lot in some of the library programs, their sing-alongs, their bingos, glass fusion classes, and I encourage anyone and everyone to go and do some of the programs that are offered through our library. Like, they're absolutely fun and a great way to just sit and chill. And I actually get to take my council hat and be a resident for a little bit, so it's nice too.
Okay, thank you, councillors. So now I will move on to presentations. We do have a public meeting now, so I will read the spiel for our public meeting, and then we'll get. As required under the Municipal Act and pursuant to council policy, council is holding a public meeting concerning the stopping up and closing of the unopened portion of the road allowance adjacent to 8168 Laidlaw Avenue, Lot 8, Plan 224. Described as Part 1 on Plan 51R-17755. The township received a request from the owners of 8168 Laidlaw Avenue to purchase Part 1 of the unopened road allowance as a lot boundary adjustment to rectify existing encroachments and support building code compliance. The unopened road allowance was declared surplus by council at the December 8, 2025 council meetings. The purpose of this meeting is to inform and provide the public and members of council with an opportunity to ask questions and express views with respect to the proposal. Council will consider all comments and submissions received, and staff will work in an attempt to resolve outstanding concerns of any. Staff are present and are willing to write down any comments. To ask you to apologize here, I didn't bring my reading glasses, and ever since my last birthday, I actually require them now, so struggling a little bit to read. The clerk will now advise on the manner of giving notice concerning the proposed stopping up and closing.
Thank you, Your
Jennifer?
Worship. Notice of public meeting and intent to sell was published in Aurelia Matters advising of the proposed stopping up and closing on December 12th for 1 month in duration. Signs were posted on the property in accordance with the Township Bylaw 2022-47, governing the sale of surplus municipally owned lands. No concerns, comments, or objections were received regarding the stopping up and closings. Questions regarding the sale were received and answered by staff.
Oh, my microphone wasn't on. I apologize.
Does the draft
Apologize, Dave. I better ask you now, any questions before I close the meeting on the proposed public meeting? Because you wouldn't have heard me. No, not seeing any. Okay, then I just read the motion to conclude the public meeting.
that the draft bylaw to stop up, close, and sell of a portion of the unopened Laidlaw Avenue road allowance adjacent to 8168 Laidlaw Avenue be forwarded to the January 26, 2026 regular council meeting for adoption.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Goff, second by the deputy mayor. All in favor? That is carried. I didn't have my microphone on. The public didn't know that somebody shared their reading glasses with you. Thank you very much. All right. I'm on the deputations now. I have Dr. Kim McIntosh and Laurie Weber Edgar here to do a presentation from the Couchiching, Ontario Health Team. Come on up. You might need your glasses back, doctor. All right.
Good morning, and thank you for having us today. So I'm Jillian Fennick. I'm the Executive Director of the Couchiching Ontario Health Team, and here with Dr. McIntosh and Laurie to provide a bit of an update on what we've been doing with regards to primary care throughout the Couchiching region. Next slide. So we're here to provide a brief update on our primary care mandate and what has come down from the province with regards to improving access, attachment, and enablement for primary care. And just to provide an update on what's happened since our last deputation here today. Next slide. So this document is on the Primary Care Action Team website. So Jane Philpott with the Primary Care Action Team in the province of Ontario is sharing this document to really articulate the belief that the future of family medicine in Canada is built with a vision of a patient's health home. Patients at the heart with a support network around them to ensure access to continuous comprehensive care to keep them healthy with the goal of preventing hospital and acute care needs. So really trying to focus on the left-hand side of the document with the support services required at the right when needed. But if we focus on the left, hoping we can prevent some of the work on the right. Next slide. So we've been using the Health Standards Ontario framework, recognizing that change brings people together in new ways to build and support better systems of care. Systems that are designed for and with those that need them the most. 10 design principles for integrating people-centered health systems with the goal to improve population health, provide better healthcare experiences, increase engagement for patients and providers, reduce the cost of care overall, and improve the quality and safety of care using the principles that are located around this diagram. Next slide. Ultimately, the goal is to create healthier communities. Through that, we are working to attach people to primary care and connect people to the overall system of care to support both patients and providers.
Next slide, please. Morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. So I'm Dr. Kim McIntosh. I'm the primary care network physician lead for Couchiching Ontario Health Team. And as you may recall, Ontario Health Teams are the healthcare delivery model for the province dating back to 2019 when Couchiching OHT was in the first wave of approved Ontario Health Teams. We represent an attributable population that expands across the geography shown on this map. So we have always included Orillia, Oro-Medonte, Ramara, Severn, and Chippewas-Rama First Nation. We have an attributable population, but more so a geographic population. We usually use about 100,000 folks that we serve, and that is in terms of ongoing continuity of care in that health home that has already been mentioned. in the context of Ontario Health Team across the 58 in the province, there has been much movement to create primary care networks. So, in my view, a primary care network is almost synonymous with an Ontario Health Team when you see how much importance should be placed on that 90% of human care is done in primary care. So, and that's not just the family doctor, it's the allied services, it's the municipalities, it's the sidewalks, the recreation centers, the soccer fields. So it's health and wellness of a community is really where our primary care network has focused and where our Ontario Health Team fortunately has understood that to be foundational. We have a primary care network that has membership with a leadership council. Our membership is unique across the 58 OHTs in the province, and that we consider anyone who views themselves as a primary care provider in our geography to be a member. So it's really a member other than if you choose to exclude yourself, which you'd never want to do, because there are many benefits to being part of a network, as you can imagine, when we talk about provider supports and population health. So you need both. We have primary care physicians, so family doctors, nurse practitioners, community paramedics, community pharmacists, midwives, and Indigenous primary care providers who make up the membership by discipline currently in our primary care network. Next slide. Thanks. We have taken an approach, and again, some of this is unique in the province. We've certainly been presenting across the province, and at the most recent Action Summit in Toronto, where 54 OHTs were in attendance, we talk about primary care continuum because it's about access, connection, and attachment. Currently, the focus is on attachment provincially, such that every Ontarian has a family doctor or community nurse practitioner in a team. So the team component is where we moved first in that connection. So we were able to expand allied services by expanding our family health team, such that anyone who lives, those 100,000 people, can access some level of care in transition, including our unattached clinic, which has 5 prongs, particularly for those who are more vulnerable. We have the medical center at the Lighthouse Shelter. We have the student clinic, the Ontario Works Clinic, and the unattached clinic for anyone who does not have a primary care provider who lives in our geography. So these have all been developed through connection, ultimately leading toward attachment, facilitating the team such that we can make it a better job for family doctors to come and work in our communities. And that is our ultimate goal. And we've been moving well along this line, but appreciate it goes back and forth. It may be an individual needs access now while we grow toward attachment. So it's about the right care in the right place. It's about growing primary care in this community across all our communities. And this has been our objective since 2019 when we became an Ontario Health Team. We became an Ontario Health Team because of all of the intent and the shared purpose of our providers and our community members and all of our municipalities and our organizations that have come together over the last 7 years now that we've been undertaking this expansion of care and integration. Next slide, please. So speaking to, I know it's lots of bubbles, but it's a hard thing to put into a picture, but this is in essence our Ontario Health Team. This is the Couchiching Ontario Health Team organizational structure, so to speak, including our joint executive team. We have a collaboration table to which all of you are invited to attend. That is a regular meeting. We have a patient family caregiver network, and we have numerous individuals who come to inform and advise and co-create our health system locally, because they are at the center of our care plan, our patients, our families. We are our patients and families. So we have a very inclusive model. To the left, you'll see our primary care network leadership council, to which I spoke. And we certainly endeavor to look across all of those types of providers to make it a better provider experience, to successfully retain and recruit into our primary care network broadly. So you'll have a chance to see all of the other bubbles where we have active work underway across partnerships, navigation, mental health and addiction supports, and of course, evaluating, providing data to the government, proving that we are doing the right thing for our people, and then subsequently endeavoring to garner more funding resources through whatever channels become available with this government's current mandate to increase access to primary care. We are certainly at every point collectively taking advantage of any opportunity to have a proposal in for evaluation to increase resources for all of our communities. Next slide, please. So how can OHTs and primary care networks lead? Well, we have a goal, as I've mentioned. It is both PCAT's goal, the Primary Care Action Team, and Dr. Jane Philpott's goal. It is our local goal. So the nice thing is really the provincial mandate and our local goals align. So that is really a good news story. But of course, if it were easy, we would have done all of this already. So we are working in a international shortage of family physicians and generalists. So that's the context in which we work to garner more resource for our local teams and people. So we look at team-based primary and community care hubs to integrate with multiple providers and services within a neighborhood. And we have opportunities, as I mentioned, we have put in a comprehensive proposal for this next round of dollars that come for primary care expansion. So we have already asked all of our primary care partners and providers, what would it take for you to provide more care? Where do we need to place family doctors? What are the opportunities in those locations of our geography to create a team and a supported model of care for the providers to want to work and stay and for the patients to get care? We have significant enablers. Our Couchiching Family Health Team is really, it's a family health team plus. So our first ask for dollars came expanding our health team. So fortunately, origins of family health teams, it was a very strict budget. You will know this as a council, I'm sure. Very strict budget specifically for these services for these particular people. Our last successful ask for expansion dollars enabled us to expand our team such that anyone in our attributable geography can access allied services. So we have chiropody, dietitian, pharmacist, diabetes educator, mental health workers. Now, it's never enough, but we have grown that team and provided access. Remember that continuum? We keep trying to add the bits as we can when they are available to us. Our family health team has been very strong in its leadership and expansion. So that's our 2023 EOI expansion to all. We have a very connected team, as you can see from all those bi-directional arrows and bubbles. And we have a fulsome navigation program such that any individual can call and access Couchiching Ontario Health Team navigation. And we have a partnership with 211, which is the provincially funded social service call number. And it is, we really certainly try to advertise and make folks aware. It's one thing to have programs and services, but how does everybody know about it? Hence our desire and gratitude to come here and speak to it. We have navigation such that no door is the wrong door. And we have tools. We're working on one electronic medical record. We have Ocean, which is a referral platform, and we continue to grow and bring providers into this one electronic system. That's easier said than done, but we certainly are endeavoring to make that a place where we can support patients in care, streamline care, and support our providers. Next slide. So it's really about the visual, particularly when it comes to representing at the provincial level and letting Ontario Health and Ministry of Health understand that the PCAT mandate on the ground, so to speak. And Couchiching takes a lot of pride in where we've come. And we do, I think, we are an accelerated OHT. We've been recognized by government. They do turn to us and say, hey, how do you think we can increase access and connection and attachment? So we really want to represent and always open to feedback on our visuals. So you will see the Couchiching Ontario Health Team, Couchiching Family Health Team. Why the difference? Family Health Team is an incorporated model of care that pre-exists in Ontario Health Team. An Ontario Health Team is a connection of partners. So it has to have an incorporated funding entity. So every community looks a little different, OHT looks a little bit different. We are very fortunate to have a strong family health team that can be the health home with our allied services. And then we start adding in the family doctors, adding in all of the additional services you'll see around the outside circle. And then of course, right out to and including our acute care hospital, our municipalities, et cetera. The right hand is about our provider mix, because we want to be always aware of how many providers are required to ensure that patients get the care they need when they need it, specific to their concerns, and that the providers are feeling supported by their team members. So these are our two visuals, and happy to take feedback on those. But we're really endeavoring to, meet the mandate of everyone is connected, and we have certainly worked through access and connection to try to get to attachment. You remember that line. Thanks. Next slide.
Thank you. So I'm Lori Webble-Edgar, and I'm the Primary Care Collaboration Lead at the Couchiching Ontario Health Team. So you've heard about our model and our approaches and all the stuff that's going on in the background. We're continuing to move forward with all of our partners to look at recruitment and partnership initiatives. So we have been working closely with the Aurelia Lakeland Recruitment Committee to attract new physicians and nurse practitioners to the community. We continue to explore something called a blended salary model and the Practice Ready Ontario programs that are available, and continuing to partner with the family health team to try to expand services. And so looking at Ramara as a spoke for those services, and lots of work happening with community engagement, great conversations with Melissa to try to support some social media work to continue that the community residents are aware of options for care, and all the work, as we've mentioned, going forward with trying to attach people to care. So if you could go to the next slide, please. And so we're continuing to work with Healthcare Connect to help to understand who's out there, who needs to be attached to primary care. We have continued, as I mentioned, to kind of get more information on the Practice Ready Ontario initiatives, and we're awaiting the outcomes from the province on our interprofessional primary care team funding application. And so just one more slide. And so our next steps, we're continuing to learn about different models that are happening out there, and continuing to try to integrate programs and services, and continuing those connections as much as possible to continue to expand and grow that health hub, and looking to encourage partnerships. And as I mentioned, that Practice Ready Ontario physician model, trying to get a bit more understanding of what that might take. So we're happy to, I think we included some resources there for you in the next slide, and I'm happy to take any questions that you might have. So thank you.
Okay. Apologize to Julian. I missed your name when I was reading the presenters. Councillor Fisher, we'll start here.
Thank you. I just have two. One was back on slide 9 when you were talking about the goals. And I know what wishful thinking is versus, like wishful thinking, this is, by the end of next week. But realistically, by having, so I'm just trying to get back to slide 9. Realistically, trying to get to ensuring that every resident's connected. What's the date, right? Like, I know we'd like to say, yeah, like we want to have this done by the end of next year, but realistically, with different changes with the province and things like that, and doctors coming in and opening borders and bringing in doctors, like, what does that look like?
Sure. Thank you very much for the question. The goal of the province is to have everyone in the province attached to a primary care provider, true attachment to a primary care provider, physician or nurse practitioner by 2029. So we have a little bit of runway. In essence, because of our 2023 funding that we received and the expansion of care available at the family health team, every one of those 100,000 people, now, to be honest, thank goodness they're not all accessing care, but everyone in principle has access to a primary care provider today. They're not all truly attached to one person, but they all have access to care through the unattached clinic, and all have access to the allied team under the family health team of services. So it's a bit of a convoluted answer, because it truly today, everybody has access who lives in the Couchiching region to a primary care provider, with our goal to provide that comprehensive care in the interim as we work on strategies of recruitment and expansion of those teams to expand the capacity. And we have a little bit of runway to get to 2029. We have the first goal that we were given by Jane Philpott and the PCAT team was to attach everybody on the Healthcare Connect list that was there as of January 1st, 2025. At that time, we had just over 2,700 people on the list, and we are down now to about 200.
Wow.
So we have been very successful since May. We were fortunate that 2 new physicians opened practice. We opened the family medicine teaching unit. So we did, and the health, Aronia Nurse Practitioner-led clinic. So we did have 4 attachment opportunities present themselves last year that really helped us in attaching those people. So we have been successful to date. And so there's less people that need to access care at the unattached clinic. So we continue to promote, because we want, and we hope all of you will help us in really spreading the word that everyone has access to care today. This is where they can access care as we continue to work with Ramara to bring services here.
Can I have a follow-up?
Follow up, yes. Go
Thank
ahead.
you. Sorry, it's on the next slide now, on slide 10. Because I've heard and I understand it because I'm sitting at this table and we've had conversations about it, but I understood the difference between, the Ontario Health Team and the Couchiching Family Health Team. And I know that you touched on it a little bit, but I think there might be an understanding, rightly or wrongly, there might be an understanding that in order to go to the after hours clinic, for example, on Memorial, you have to be part of the Couchiching Family Health. So if you can just kind of maybe give a little bit of a broader explanation for people to understand how that might look.
Absolutely. As you can imagine, how our health system historically is funded, how payment models are bundled, how docs work, how patients can get care is a really thick onion. So to break it down, we have two family health organizations that are two groups of family doctors. That's the governance model. I'm in one. Both those FOs, historically, you had to be a patient of one of those doctors because the FOs had the agreement with the family health team. So there's one FO hasn't, and we're mandated to have after hours clinics, but we cover our own patients in our own practice group. Now they're two big groups. We look after 65,000 people. It's not small, but it's not enough for everyone. It's not open to everyone. So the two after hours clinics are for each FO, those groups. Now, the good news is as of 2023, with that successful expansion application, we were able to open up fit services for all. So you can now access allied service without a physician. So chiropody, dietitian, navigation, health at home, mental health, you name it. We have additional services in that access connection component. And we also grew our unattached. So our unattached clinic, so to speak, is at 119 Memorial. And that's for anyone who has one of our postal codes, who doesn't have a family physician or nurse practitioner in this community. So that is the access point. Now that's not after hours. Nurse practitioners work in that space. It is during working hours, but it is a place to attach. We've also had success in recruiting other physicians into community who are seeing in a walk-in clinic type of way, because there's a difference between, quick access, convenient care versus connected care that will bring you into our system as a whole. But at this point, we're just really trying to build all those access points. So thank you for asking the question. It still remains, because of the way physician models are rolled out, and there are many versions, we have, and only two FOs because we have early and late adopters. We all get along. It is one team, I promise you. I've been here for 25 years, so I know the history. That's a whole other conversation. But we have, our two FOs, but our family health team is for all. And our unattached clinic is an access point for anyone who doesn't have a family physician, who has one of our postal codes in our OHT geography. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, I just want to say you guys have done a fantastic job. I love how we've developed over the years since the beginning of this. I spent quite a bit of time in this area. I worked for RVH and then I worked for different agencies throughout Barrie and Orillia and Simcoe County. One of the things we're still weak on is the mental health side. I know in Barrie, I started the first at-home detox program, started the first mobile crisis team and the first mobile crisis, or the first crisis house. So I'd like to see more of that stuff. And I'm sure that's on your radar. And I know funding is tight and aggressive and competitive, but it would be nice to see more of that in our area for sure.
Hey, Councillor Tuyu.
Thanks. Yeah, not a question, but just a comment that it's speaking to your accessibility points, the work that you've done in cooperation with the township on our website and having even the Facebook, the information to the resources is so much more accessible now to the residents. And even, for me to understand, even though I already belong, thankfully, to the Couchiching Family Health Team, but just even knowing what's out there, and it's a lot. So I'm feeling really positive about the work you're doing. Thank you.
Any other questions from council members? Not seeing any at this time, so thank you. And now, before you leave though, we do have an in-camera item that we would like you to remain around for. So we've changed our agenda today and we're going to break in a committee of the whole, I believe, and go in camera. Are we not at this point? And apologize to the folks here, but it'll be a very brief meeting in camera and we'll deal with that.
Through your worship, yes, we are going to head towards closed session and we would like the ladies to attend for a portion thereof. So if you want to deal with the necessary motions, and then
Yes.
we'll invite them in.
The council recess and reconvene as committee of the whole at 10:15 a.m.
Moved by Councillor Goff, second by Councillor Fisher. All in favor? That is carried.
that pursuant to section 239-4 of the Municipal Act 2001, Chapter 25, notice is hereby given that Committee of the Whole intends to hold a closed session meeting at 10:17 in the Richard P. Bates Boardroom to deal with items 10.21, 10.22, as described on the agenda, being a matter pursuant to section 239-2F, advice solicitor client, subject to solicitor client privilege, and K, a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board of the said act.
Moved by Counselor Fisher, second by Counselor Snatch. So all in favor? That is carried. So we'll go in the room. We'll let you in the room, Dave, as soon as we get set up. Okay, we are back live. I'll just get a quick roll call if you can confirm I still have a quorum.
I can
Madam Clerk.
confirm you still have quorum, your worship.
Thank you very much. And with that, I have another presentation from James Newlands and Brian Zimmerman.
Your worship, we have
Seaman,
to
sorry.
rise from closed session.
Oh, shoot, yeah. Moved by Councillor Fisher, second by Councillor Tuyu, that we now rise, but we'll report later, I would assume, correct?
Correct.
So that we now rise at 11:04 a.m. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. So now I can go to my presentation by James Newell and Brian Zeman. I almost called you Zimmerman. And thank you for waiting, but we had some important issues we had to go through.
Right. We're still morning, right? Yes. Good morning, Mayor Clark, members of council and staff and members of the public. Thank you again for having us here today. My name is James Newlands. I'm here this morning with my colleague, Brian Zeman. I am a registered professional planner with MHBC, and I've been working on this proposed Brecken Quarry application. We are here this morning to provide council with a quick update on the Planning Act applications. Next slide, please. As you're aware, in December of 2023, LCP Quarry Limited submitted official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment applications to the township for their proposed Brecken Quarry. The public meeting for these applications was held on June 23rd, 2025. During that meeting, council provided comments on the application, some of which included a request for information about fly rock best management practices, to which a written response was provided to township staff, outlining that ARA licensees are required to prevent fly rock from leaving the site during blasting. And it also outlined the provincially prescribed conditions that apply to this site with regard to fly rock. A second comment from another council member came in regard to the establishment of a community liaison committee. In response to that, the applicant has agreed to add such a note, has agreed to have this committee, and has added such a note to the site plans for this. The detailed responses to both of those comments are actually provided in the staff report that you will see later in this morning's agenda. So I won't go into the details of those responses unless you'd like to talk about them, but they are there. Outside of the public meeting, the township undertook a peer review of the technical reports and the site plans. This peer review included the water resources report, the natural environment report, traffic report, noise report, and blast report. The peer review has been completed, with the applicant agreeing to some additional mitigation measures being implemented on the site plans to address the peer review comments, which included groundwater monitoring, noise mitigation measures, haul route upgrades and improvements, and additional ecological protection and monitoring. As a result, the township's peer reviews have confirmed they have no outstanding concerns. And again, the details of this peer review process are outlined in that same staff report. These applications have undergone an extensive 2-year agency, public, and technical peer review, which the applicant has made a number of site plan revisions to address these agency, public, and peer review comments. This ensures the site has been designed so that it will not have any negative impacts on surrounding residences, agricultural operations, water resources, natural heritage features, and natural heritage features through land use compatibility and mitigation measures in accordance with provincial policies, guidelines, and regulations. The County of Simcoe and the Township of Ramara official plans also identify this site as being within a high potential mineral aggregate resource area, which is one of the identified resource areas that the township has planned and protected and anticipates for future mineral aggregate operations. Based on the extensive process and the revisions that have taken place over the past 2 years, the applicant is seeking council's support to adopt and approve the Planning Act applications that the bylaws, with the bylaws coming up at the January 26th council meeting. Outside of the Planning Act application, the Aggregate Resources Act application is still ongoing. Making a decision on this application today does not end participation in that Aggregate Resources Act application. The township and members of the public have commented on that ARA application. We'll still have, like I said, we'll still have an opportunity to engage further in that application, with the applicant intending to provide formal responses to the outstanding comments in the very near future. If council has any further questions for us this morning, we did want to keep the presentation very short and to the point. The applications we've gone through 2 years, the applications have been peer reviewed with peer reviews providing no further outstanding concerns. But council, if you do have any questions for us this morning, we would be happy to answer them. So thank you again for your time, and I'm here for any questions.
Councillor Tuyu, start us off.
Thanks. Nice to see you again, James. At that June 23rd public meeting, I had asked the question regarding fly rock best management practices. For example, does Explotech LCP commit to utilizing the Turok fly rock model calculations where it comes to setting exclusion zones? And is that the industry standard for provincial regulations? At that meeting, you had indicated that you would get back to me on that, and I didn't hear from you. So I'm hoping that you can answer that today, along with a few other related questions. Now, I don't know if that was covered in a report that you had sent back, but I just don't remember seeing anything to do with Turok in there.
If I
Go ahead,
could,
James.
through the mayor to the councillor, thank you again. I do apologize if that didn't get back to you. I had correspondence with the township planner. That was one of the direct questions that came up. And in the staff report on page 5 of the Ms. Dong's staff report, I do have the exact answer to respond to that question that you asked. So I don't want to paraphrase, but it is there. I'm happy to chat with you about it if you want to discuss.
Thank you. Yeah, because I had a few follow-up questions that were sort of based on the Turok line of questioning. So if that's okay, and apologies if any of it's redundant, but I just wanted to confirm the closest homes or sensitive receptors are 150 meters away, right?
Oh, that's through you, Mayor. I apologize. I don't have the exact off the top of my head. I don't know how close. Oh,
Okay.
sorry, 150 meters. Actually, I can say that there's 3 houses on Highway 12 there.
Mhm.
We have been set back 150 meters, yes, from the houses. Yes, sorry.
Right. Thank you. And if I may continue, I've got another 4.
Yes.
Okay, so is the LCP quarry relying solely on Explotech to conduct its blast impact study?
James.
Thank you again. The answer is no, because it has also been peer reviewed by the municipality. And then in practice throughout the life of the operation, it's not just Explotech that takes on every blast.
Right, okay. And then going back to the Turok question. So I'm not sure if in your response, if the Turok model is being used or not. Is that the model being used?
Through the mayor, we've answered it that there are several different models that can be completed, which incorporate industry best practice standards. So there's not one certain model that they've committed to using. There are a number, and with the intent that they meet the requirements so that the blasts do not exceed the provincial guidelines.
Right, because the Turok model is very conservative in terms of exclusion setbacks. So how would that model that is planned to be used, how does that compare to the Turok model?
Through the mayor, I can't speak to that because I'm not the blast person that does it. Like I'd mentioned, there's several different models, so I don't know exactly which model gets used, but it's all intended that they come out to the same objectives to meet the provincial ensure the blasts are below or meet provincial guidelines.
Okay, my next question through you, Mr. Mayor. Are you aware that Explotech has admitted in the Burlington OLT hearing that it has made errors in applying the Turok model in 2 separate blast impact studies? In each case, Explotech maintained that it was using the Turok model to ensure blasting is safe, but Turok has testified in the Burlington OLT case that Explotech's application of that model does not employ safety exclusion zones that are designed to protect people and property in the vicinity of the blast. And it also underestimates the hardness of the rock being blasted, which underestimates both the amount and distance of fly rock resulting from the blast.
James?
If I could, actually, I wasn't involved with that hearing, but Brian was. So if that's okay, he can provide a response.
Yes, please,
for
I'd
that.
love
Come on up,
Sure.
Brian.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Councillor Tuju. As it relates to the Turok model that you're referring to on, it's related to fly rock. So yes, Explotech did make an error in the calculation using the Turok model during the Burlington Quarry extension application. Having said that, for fly rock analysis, all the fly rock, the blast impact assessment is really looking at vibration and overpressure. The fly rock itself is actually something that can't be calculated until you're actually in the quarry operating under operating conditions. So you need to see the rock face, the geology, and then what those models are used for is to put in the variety of parameters, like what size it's a whole bunch of details of how wide your spacing is for the drilling, how big your hole is, how much charge you're putting into it, how much tonnage you're trying to blast. And you put all of those into the various models to calculate a safety exclusion zone in terms of making sure that every blast has a safety exclusion zone. So the work up front has been done to demonstrate it can be done in compliance. And then each blast that's undertaken at the quarry will have to have a subsequent analysis completed based on the details of that specific blast. So very specific to your question, as you're getting closer to residents, so if you're within 150-meter range, very likely in that scenario, you have a very small blast relative to the proximity of those, so you reduce the risk for fly rock.
Okay, we have a
Okay,
quick supplementary, and I see you
Yeah.
online, Dave, but we'll let Dana finish first.
Sorry, this is my last one on this subject. So if LCP Quarry is using Explotech, then having made that error, how can we trust their analysis given what they've admitted on the public record? It seems as though Explotech has a history of consistently understating the potential danger of fly rock. Taking this into consideration, would LCP Quarry consider hiring Turok to conduct a blast impact analysis?
Brian, again, through your worship, again, we're sort of mixing apples and oranges here. The blast impact assessments was completed by Explotech. Explotech won't be the blaster that's in charge doing each of the individual blasts at the quarry itself. So when it does come to the blasting, that's when the safety exclusion zone and the safety exclusion zones need to be completed for fly rock. So it's not specific to say that Explotech's going to be the blaster in charge on the site, but in terms of will it be a responsibility of the licensee to complete a safety exclusion zone for fly rock as part of each blast? That is a requirement to do for each blast is undertaken. And there are detailed records that sort of record that information, the logging information, the geology of the site, and all the parameters that they put in to establish that zone.
Okay, thanks.
Councillor Snudge.
Yeah, very quick question. Why wouldn't they just use the Turok model, which is the only real model that works? Because we saw what happened in the Fowler's situation where we ended up with rocks in our backyards. So why wouldn't you just commit to using the Turok model, since you thought it was a great one before, because that's what they submitted in the land tribunal thing, that they were using the Turok model. So they must have thought it was a good model, but they never used it because they're not following it properly. So why wouldn't you just help the residents and council by committing to using the Turok model?
Brian, again, through your worship, to commit to the Turok model for all blasts could actually do a disservice to some of the safety considerations at this operation. Remember, Turok is a company out of Australia, so some of the geology that we're dealing with is different. And the more important aspect is looking at the various the various methodologies that are available to undertake that, to make sure that you're utilizing the most relevant, the best methodology that can be used based on the geology that's in place at the specifics for that blast design that's taking place. The one representation from Fowler, that was a blast that was completed, I'm going to say many decades ago, when blasting standards were not to what they are today. And there's a much different standard now that does regulate and oversight on blasting operations today.
Dave, supplementary.
Just to follow up. So, but in the case in Caledon, why were they saying they're using the Turok model? Why would they recommend that or say they were using the Turok model? Because they thought it was a good model, but they weren't following it because they don't know what the model was. And there's still no requirement to have a licensed blasting person on site. And you're proposing that you can continue to blast without having a licensed blaster on site.
Brian, again, through your worship, Councillor Snutch, in regards to the licensed blaster on site, that's an Ontario regulation item. It doesn't mean that blasters aren't qualified to complete blasting, but blasting in Ontario does not require a license to be completed. But the blasting companies that do use quarry operators here do use professionals that are qualified to complete blasting and are qualified to complete the analysis for each blast to make sure that each blast can be conducted safely.
Well, I would disagree and strongly suggest that you find licensed blasters to perform this blasting and that you use the Turok model. So I have no other comments.
Thank you. Any other comments, members of council? Yeah, Councillor Tullio, yes.
Thanks. I have a different line of questioning on dust. So given that people know a lot more nowadays about the dangers of silica dust, which is a known carcinogen, has a dust nuisance impact analysis been done?
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there was no dust study completed. What is required through the provincial prescribed conditions is that dust has to be managed on site and it can't leave the site.
Okay, can I follow up?
Yes.
Thanks. Yeah, so I guess according to the site plans, dust shall be mitigated on site. Water or another provincially approved dust suppressant shall be applied to internal haul roads and processing areas as often as required to mitigate dust. And processing equipment shall be equipped with dust suppressing or collection devices where the equipment creates dust and is being operated within 300 meters of a sensitive receptor. I guess I'm confused about that because in our pits and quarries bylaw, number 7 indicates that every owner or operator of a pit or quarry shall at regular time intervals cause all roads within the pit or within the quarry to be treated with an improved dust controlling substance, except water, as often as is necessary to control dust and whenever requested by the township's bylaw enforcement officer. So I guess I'm just not certain, would the dust suppressant be water or a different substance?
Through the mayor, thank you again for a good question. Is the province has those prescribed conditions, the first ones that you listed there. That is exactly what is on the site plans. The municipality has this pits and quarries control bylaw. There has been discussion. There's actually, I don't know the details if you've gone into it or not, but there has been discussion through the municipal act that the provincial requirements override any sort of municipal bylaws that speak to these matters. So in this case, it would be water can be used or any other such as like calcium, and nothing different than what the municipality does for their roads in the summer.
Okay, thanks. Last follow-up.
Last
That's
question, go
okay.
ahead.
So I'm somewhat familiar with another dust mitigation system at a nearby quarry. Would the system be similar to that one? Sorry, am I allowed to say which
I
one?
don't know what quarry it is.
Sorry, at Miller.
Yeah, I think we can.
Miller does have a number of quarries, so I don't know
This one.
exactly. I don't know which one you're referring to, and I'll be honest, I don't know unless Brian, if you know, I don't know what the dust suppression system is there, but I can just speak to. I've seen it done on other quarries I have been to. I have seen on a dry, dusty day, you do have the water truck out just soaking the road in with water every however long it takes. Sometimes it's as frequently as every hour.
Right, but nothing like a big machine that sucks it out of the air. I know they have one at Walker too in Severn.
No, the intent here is a preventative measure, is apply the water before
Okay.
you have to go to those other steps.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions from council members on the deputation? Councillor Snutch.
Just back to the Turok model. The Turok model absolutely considers geology of the ground all around the world in their model. So what I'm hearing is that you want to use the Ontario standards because they're less than with the standards of other companies around the world. And I'm just asking you to get better standards for the citizens of Ramara. Why go to the minimum? What I've seen the sprinkler systems that come up in some of these quarries and that the water shoots 4 feet out of the sprinkler on the tires because you can get away with it. But I'm not asking you to get away with it. I'm asking you to do something that's best for the residents of Ramara.
James. Brian.
Again, through you, your worship. Again, the standard that applies to fly rock, it doesn't matter which methodology you're using to calculate it. The standard in Ontario that applies to fly rock is it cannot leave the licensed site. That is the standard that is being applied to this site. That is the standard that should apply, that you're designing every blast to make sure that it's not going to leave licensed property and not to, now it is, I can never sit here and stand here and say that it is 100% impossible that something can ever happen, but that's why various methodologies are used. They're looked at it. Blasters take this very seriously. The consequences of fly rock leaving a site, both for human health and safety, is severe. The blasters themselves for their ability to continue blasting, and then for the reputation licensee. So I can tell you in my involvement in pits and quarries, safety exclusion zones and fly rock is something that's taken very seriously, and the blasters take a lot of care in ensuring they have the appropriate safety exclusion zone that does not result in fly rock leaving the site and does not result in harm past. I know we've had situations that have been back several decades, but I can tell you through my 30 years of experience working on pits and quarries, the guidelines, the standards, the regulations have certainly evolved, and fly rock is not an accepted practice coming from a licensed property.
Thank you.
I understand that. I'm just asking you to use the best model possible, but you're avoiding the question, so I'll just move on.
All right. I have any further follow-up, Councillor Toohey.
Thank you. Yes, just again, going back to the questions about the Turok model again and that type of standards. Would drill logs be kept at this quarry such that the appropriate K factor could be calculated for blasts and for exclusion distances?
Brian.
Absolutely, drill logs are, the K factor is not, K factors, if you're speaking to the K factor through permeability, that would be sort of a measure for calculating how fast water moves through the rock. I'm not sure which K value you're referring to, but
The one that Turok uses. Sorry, I'm still on.
yeah, it's, we're going on the premise that council believes Turok is the best model, and I'm not,
Yes.
and I'm saying it's not always necessarily the best model for each specific location. Sometimes there's various models that are calculated and applied to see if there's a difference between the conclusions. But in terms of fly rock, the standard is that they are not permitted to have fly rock leave the licensed site, and that's the standard that would apply to this property.
Okay, and I have another follow-up question if that's
Sure,
okay.
sure.
So the blasters, they're not necessarily with Explotech then? These are different blasters?
That is correct. Explotech is predominantly a firm that will do blast impact assessments, but they're not always the people that are on the ground designing an individual blast and conducting the blasting that is completed on site.
Okay, so the blasters being used then, will they always be the same company consistently, or will they change from year to year, or how does that work?
That is something I wouldn't be able to commit. An applicant to, it would be depending on a variety of factors of which licensee the operator would use for blasting, and to commit them to one firm or one isn't, I wouldn't say is an advisable thing to do in terms of future blasting practices going forward.
Okay, thanks.
I will clarify the one thing, Brian, that no, council has never voted the Torok as the preferred model. I know some of the councillors prefer that model, but no, it's not our official stance that that is the model we want. And I understand what you're saying about provincial mandates. You have to meet the provincial regulations, and you bring in different companies depending on the blast or who's ever available at the time is what I understand. I don't want to see a quarry tied to any one model, because if the legislation changes down the road, then they have to follow the legislation, which would overrule anything we put in place regardless. So I think if anything, the lobbying needs to be done at the provincial level. If folks feel that there's not enough protection in blasting and dust, and that's something that we have to lobby our MPPs to get those regulations in place. But to ask for one quarry to do more or less than another, I don't think is a fair request, but that's my opinion. Deputy Mayor.
I think probably more importantly is what happens if fly rock does land on somebody's backyard? How do you respond? And what is the outcome for that blaster?
Again, through your worship, if there was a fly rock incident, the first thing is it has to be reported. There's a variety of different organizations that get involved in that point. I would, Ministry of Labor from a safety perspective, Ministry of Natural Resources because it's the Aggregate Resource Act license, and Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Park because they oversee some of the blasting regulations. So first there would be a report. Secondly, there would be an investigation. In my experience, where there has been a fly rock incident, there has been punitive serious fines and restrictions relative to those blasters going forward. So it's not something that is just sort of overseen. And then in terms of a blasting operation, I would expect that if they did have a situation like that, they'll have a variety of reporting that they have to do on the blast going forward to demonstrate what happened and how it's not going to happen again.
Okay, thank you.
So is there any other questions for the presenters? One more, Dave, and then we'll let them go. Go ahead.
You're saying that there would be an investigation, but we know, I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with the Nelson aggregates situation where there was no records kept, so it's hard to investigate.
Again, through your worship and Councillor Snutch, again, the instances that I'm aware of from Burlington, again, are several decades back again, and we are just in a different regulatory regime of both the standards, procedures that have to be followed for blasting in a quarry operation in Ontario.
Thank you.
If there's no further questions, I'll let you gentlemen go. We were going to take a break, but I would like to do the open forum if council's okay with that. The folks have been sitting here patiently wanting to have their say, so I will move on to the next item then, and thank you for your presentation. I have three folks that want to come up for the open forum. Two of them, I believe, are over the quarry, and one over some other items on the agenda, 9.1, which is the minutes, and 15.1, which is the Integrity Commissioner's report. Again, 1 minute. It's a big topic. If you could try and keep it as close to 1 minute as possible, I'll ask Anna Burgess to come up first. And then I've got Judy Mitchell-Wilson next. And this is on the quarry, I believe. So whenever you're ready, Anna. You Burgess, it's bourgeois.
Bourgeois. Yes,
I
thank you.
apologize.
Yeah. I'm not here to re-argue the technical studies of the reports. I'm here to speak to council's responsibility for land use compatibility, risk, and long-term community impact, and to urge you to consider deferral as the most prudent course. This planning justification asks council to approve a permanent official plan and zoning change today, while repeatedly stating that key impacts, noise, blasting, dust, water, traffic, and enforcement will be addressed later through provincial processes under the Aggregate Resources Act. That is not a small distinction. Once land use permission is granted, council no longer controls the impacts and concerns of residents, only how they are monitored afterward through ARA site plan conditions, reporting, and provincial enforcement. The report relies heavily on below water table extraction, and on that basis states that agricultural rehabilitation is not required. That represents a permanent land use conversion, even though the operation is described as interim. The report also acknowledges Canada Land Inventory Class 1 to 3 soils, yet concludes that the lands are not prime agricultural, based on a consultant assessment. Council is being asked to accept that reclassification without independent review, despite provincial policy requiring strong protection of agricultural land. We are also shown maps of multiple existing quarries in proximity, yet no cumulative impact assessment is provided. Cumulative burden is a land use planning issue, not something that can be deferred to ARA licensing or addressed later through monitoring. Finally, mitigation is promised through zoning exemptions, ARA site plan conditions, and future monitoring, but enforcement largely rests on the province. Council is being asked to approve land use change while retaining limited ability to ensure those mitigations are delivered over time. These are not technical disputes. They are planning judgment questions about permanence, cumulative impact, agricultural land loss, and local risk. A deferral would allow council to seek independent planning or legal advice on risk allocation and cumulative impacts, clarify the permanence of below water table extraction at the zoning stage, ensure that mitigation measures are municipally enforceable, not merely promised through the ARA. Deferral is not denial, it is due diligence. In a township already carrying disproportionate share of aggregate extraction, approving another permanent land use change without resolving these questions places the long-term burden on residents, not the proponent. I respectfully urge council to defer this decision until these planning issues are fully addressed. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Okay, next I have Judy Mitchell-Wilson.
Mayor and councillors, thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Judy Mitchell-Wilson and I live on Lakeshore Drive. I'm here as a neighbor and a ratepayer, not a planner or a technical expert. When I read this report, I see a lot of reassurance in studies, conditions, and future monitoring. But to the people who live here, this isn't a report on paper. It's our everyday reality. We already live with quarry traffic, noise, dust, and uncertainty. We already worry about our wells, our roads, how close industrial activity keeps moving toward our homes and the lake. Each new approval may seem manageable on its own, but the cumulative impact in what residents really feel. If council chooses to move this forward, I'm asking you to slow down and put residents first by ensuring strong, enforceable protections. Not just promises. We need meaningful community oversight, clear public reporting, and real accountability if something goes wrong. Please remember that once this land use decision is made, residents live with the consequences for decades. I respectfully ask council to pause before adopting these amendments to address the impacts on our community. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Now on, I guess, Michael, and I guess it's on 9.1, which is council minutes. And
it was just a comment. So to your honor, I'll just like to speak. At last council, you passed a motion and it relates to the integrity commissioner. I just wanted to make sure that you're asking for an account of fees paid for services in 2025 for the fiscal year. And I guess I'd like to ask that some details, not just the total amount, but some details be included to ensure it also includes complaints that didn't necessarily get to the formal stage, because I can't help but feel there's a lot of perhaps frivolous complaints being made, and I'm worried that a lot of money is being spent on this process, not just on things that have gone ahead, very serious issues, but is there an abuse of the process beyond that, people making frivolous complaints? So just a comment from reading all of this. So thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, turn it off.
Yes, yes, please. Thank you. So with that, you want to pass the minutes? We'll take a break. And then that'll get us out of our council meeting. So if you have the motion for the minutes, Madam Clerk, and then we'll take a break.
Yes, your worship, that the minutes of the following meetings be adopted, having been printed and distributed. Council meeting minutes dated December 8th, 2025. Council meeting closed session minutes dated December 8th, 2025. Public meeting re-amendments to building bylaw 2023-22. Minutes dated December 8th, 2025.
Moved by Councillor Goff, second by Councillor Fisher. All in favor? That is carried, and we'll go into committee of the whole, then we'll take our break. So why don't we get into committee of the whole then, if that's okay.
That council recess and reconvene as committee of the whole at 11:40 a.m.
Moved by Councillor Goff, second by the deputy mayor. All in favor? That is carried. And do I need a motion for a break?
Yes, your worship.
All right. So moved by, again, Councillor Goff, second by Councillor Tuyu, that we take a break, and why don't, 15 minutes? I know the day's creeping by, but we'll take it. So if we can be here at 5 minutes at 12. Noon? All right, we will break till noon. Well, is that long enough? Do you want to take an early lunch? Is that what you're thinking? Well, then we'd need more time. Yeah, it's a lot of time for a quick break. So why don't we, do you want to take a half an hour then, folks, and then try and grab something to eat quick if you want something? And so if we can go back at 12:10. All in favor? That is carried. We'll call our lunch. Okay, we're live now, Colton. Thank you. So we did take a break. We're back. I'll look to my clerk to make sure that I have a quorum.
Thank you, Your Worship. I confirm we have quorum.
Thank you. And now we are moving on to our committee of the whole agenda. So just give me a minute here. Do you want to do the closed session
Yes.
motions now? So we'll go ahead with those two and then we'll get into our meeting.
Okay, that report ID 02-26 be received and that the confidential direction provided to staff be adopted.
Okay, moved by Councillor Goff, second by Councillor Fisher. All in favor?
Yes.
That is carried. And there was a second one.
That report ADO 126 dated January 7th, 2025 regarding physician recruitment be received and that staff be directed to follow council's confidential direction. And that report ADO 126 be referred to the January 12th, 2026 council agenda for same day ratification.
Oh, for same day ratification, and that is our, first one. Moved by again, Councillor Goff, second by Deputy Mayor. All in favor? Question, Dave? No, all in favor? That's carried. Yeah, questions would be limited because it's an in-camera item. Motions we've done from closed session. Council reports, boards and committee reports. We have none. Council referral reports. So we have our department reports now. And did you want one motion or do you want to do them individually, Madam Clerk?
Them individually, Your Worship.
All right.
That report BP 0226 regarding the procurement of engineering technical review services related to the Kingfisher North extension for files OP-125 and Z-425 be received, and that council award the technical peer review services to DM Wills Associates for the water resources review, and that report BP 0226 be referred to the January 12th, 2026 council agenda for same day ratification.
This is another one we'll want to ratify today. This is not approving the quarry by any means. This is just the engineers that are going to peer review it for us as our engineer has a conflict. Moved by the Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Fisher. Questions or comments? Not seeing any. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you.
That report BPO 126 regarding official plan and zoning bylaw amendment files OP-423 and Z-1123 be received, and that applications OP-4-423 and Z-1123 be approved, and that the draft amendments be finalized and forwarded to the January 26th, 2026 council meeting for adoption and enactment.
Okay, so this one would not be enacted today. It would go to the future council meeting. Let's have a motion to get it on the floor, folks. This is the quarry application moved by Councillor Goff, second by Councillor Fisher. Open the floor for questions and comments. And again, we did have some items that were added to our agenda, some letters from the folks as well. Does Councillor Tuyu, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I was just hoping that we could amend the motion to defer.
Defer or refer?
Through your worship, it essentially would be a motion to postpone, but prior to entertaining a motion to postpone, you as chair should be satisfied that there's been enough discussion on the matter before
Yeah, I
the
think we
motion to
should,
postpone.
we'll have some discussion first before we get into that, so we can answer some of the questions that folks have. So I'll start with Councillor Fisher.
Thank you. The only concern I have with wanting to defer this is they actually put the application for the zoning bylaw amendment in back in December 2023. And we had our public meeting for it on June 23rd of 2025. So this isn't a new application to just push down the line and kick the can down the line, in my opinion.
Well, aside from the deferral, though, I'll look for any comments on the actual application then and see if, CAO, go ahead.
Through your worship, I apologize, but Ms. Dong actually has a presentation for
good.
council and
I
the
was
public.
wondering if,
Yes.
if you had a presentation, but I was looking for questions in the meantime. I was going to get to you, Jen. Go ahead.
Perfect. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. This presentation summarizes report BP 0126. The report provides recommendation on the official plan and zoning amendments related to the proposed quarry by LCP Quarry Limited, known as the Brecken Quarry. Council's role today is to determine whether the proposal is appropriate from a land use planning perspective. After comprehensive review, staff are recommending approval as amended. The proposal is for a Class A below the water table quarry. The total land holding is about 157 hectares with about 92 hectares of extraction area. The maximum annual tonnage limit is 2 million per year, and the extraction is proposed on 3 of the properties. Notably, the southwestern property on the left-hand side of the drawing in front of you is going to be excluded from extraction and is for ecological monitoring enhancements only. Site access is about a 450-meter haul route from Highway 12 on Concession 2. The lands are mapped as high potential mineral aggregate resource area in both the county and township official plan. These areas are mapped and protected by the province through the PPS. Provincial policy requires protection of aggregate resources for long-term use, and we also need to ensure that we are making the resources available as close to market as possible. Notably, that need, oversupply, and market demand are not planning considerations in the PPS. Staff have confirmed that the applications as amended are consistent with the PPS, conform to the Lake Simcoe Protection Plan, and conform with the county and township official plans. Township Council makes decision on land use planning applications. So we need to review consistency with the PPS, conformity with provincial plans, and conformity with the upper tier and local official plans. The province, through the Aggregate Resources Act, regulates blasting, noise limits, dust control, water taking and discharge, tonnage limits, and day-to-day operations. Municipal zoning cannot override conditions imposed through the Aggregate Resources Act license, and conditions are secured through the ARA site plan. Saying that, there were changes made to the site plan in order to satisfy local and land use planning matters. So on page 193 of the report package, we have a letter that we've drafted for the ministry. This letter is sent to the ministry that will outline all of the changes to the site plan that were needed in order to satisfy our land use planning considerations. The letter summarizes all of the comments, including full complaint response program and monitoring program to be on the actual plan itself. Some missing wetlands were added to the site plan, a note to include the requirement of a community liaison committee, excluding lands with certain woodlands from extraction and providing a 10-meter buffer, installation of wildlife exclusion fencing along the southern border of the proposed extraction area, updates for noise mitigation, annual reporting requirement to the township for performance monitoring of the water, and then also including the MTO requests. They request a 14-meter setback to one of the berms adjacent Highway 12, and they wanted to see the daylight triangle added to the site plan. The intention of this letter is twofold. The first is to make sure that the changes that were done to satisfy the land use planning considerations are maintained through to the license. So we want to really make sure that the ministry is aware that these changes need to be on the site plan. The second is also a knowledge capture, so that in the future, if there's changes made to the site plan, we actually have this letter as an appendix in the physical official plan amendment. So if there are amendments proposed to the site plan, we can check to make sure that the things that we asked for are maintained throughout the life of the quarry as appropriate. The applications were supported with a full suite of technical studies, which were all peer reviewed on behalf of the township. The township consultants have confirmed that all outstanding concerns are resolved and that the required mitigation measures were identified and incorporated into the site plans. The key findings are that there are no predicted impacts to private wells. They are required to have a groundwater monitoring and complaints response program if issues arise. There's strict limits on hours of operation, noise, and blasting. And there's required noise berms and ongoing monitoring. Traffic studies confirm that Highway 12 can support the increase in traffic, and Concession 2 does need to be improved to a haul route standard, which will be done through agreement and will be done before extraction occurs. Environmentally, significant wetlands and woodlands are avoided. Species at risk is addressed through provincial permitting, and substantial ecological enhancements are required, including off-site protection.
Just on the haul route improvement, would that require paving or no?
It will be designed to a haul route standard, so I expect yes, but that will be dealt with in the agreement. It'll be reviewed by township engineers, and the infrastructure department.
Perfect. And then there'd be a maintenance contract for that as well, I would assume.
It would be addressed through the agreement.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So from a public consultation and community feedback perspective, we did have the statutory public meeting in June of 2025. Residents raised concerns related to water, noise, traffic, cumulative impacts, and enforcement, and others. They're all outlined in the report. From a land use planning perspective, these concerns were addressed through the technical review and adjustments made to the site plan. The site will also be required to establish a community liaison committee to provide ongoing communication between residents, the operator, and agencies. So when it comes to the actual amendments themselves, they are on page 197 of the report package. The official plan amendment recognizes the mineral aggregate extraction through specific policies. These recognize extraction permissions where proposed and prohibit extraction on that southwestern parcel I was talking about. The zoning amendment will apply a site-specific mineral aggregate extraction zoning, which will include enhanced setbacks and also places holding provisions on the lands for the agreements. The holding provisions will ensure that road improvements and agreements are in place before the extraction begins. The environmental parcel is zoned to prohibit extraction permanently, permitting only uses related to ecological conservation, enhancements, mitigation, and monitoring in conjunction with the Brecon Quarry itself. Based on policy and peer review and technical analysis, staff recommend approval of both applications. If approved, the official plan amendment will be forwarded along to the County of Simcoe if adopted, the amendment will be forwarded along to the County of Simcoe for approval. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. I'm also supported by Diana Kay and Chris Proctor from DM Wills on Zoom.
We got a question from the public earlier, and I actually had the same one when I read the agenda. This is ag land, which surprised me because I know in the official plan and the province has identified it as prime aggregate. But it's zoned agriculture right now, not rural. And so we don't normally have the authority to change anything out of agriculture unless it's going to a settlement zone. So does the province prioritize the rock over ag land? Like,
I wouldn't say there's a prioritization, and the special policy areas in the official plan actually don't remove the agricultural parcel from the agricultural designation. It will have its own site-specific agriculture designation that also permits extraction. The zoning of the property will be mineral aggregate extraction with special exemption, but the official plan will not actually remove that piece from the agricultural system.
you confuse, now I know there's a, when you look at the property, there is a section that is being farmed correctly right now. So you're saying they're going to carry on farming that position of the property or?
No, what I'm saying is, so in the official plan designation, the piece, I believe it's the most northern piece, is designated agriculture in the county and township official plan. That designation is going to stay the same. It will still be within the agricultural designation. It's just going to have a special policy item that also allows for aggregate.
All right, so then I'm gonna, the question would be from Minot then, are we getting paid industrial tax rates, which we should be on an active quarry, or are we gonna keep receiving agricultural tax rates on the piece of property that's being mined? So that's a bit of a red flag for me.
So I can speak to what MPAC will do. So the assessment and the assessment class come from MPAC. So at this point, there's no change on the property, I believe. That will come in the future, but we do have an aggregate tax class. So I could follow up when I receive more information from MPAC.
That we would be getting the aggregate tax class on all the land that is currently being quarried, correct? I know you don't get it on the land that they're not quarrying. It's very specific to the footprint. One of the objections, until it's quarried, it actually stays under, I don't know, it's a set tax rate that they pay. We always seem to cut the short end on that, but the actual part that is being mined, I just need to make sure we're getting the proper taxes on the area that as it's being quarried.
So again, I can't speak to the assessment because that's not part of the township, but it is, once a property is designated as aggregate, then it starts the process on the impact and assessment review.
So will it be designated aggregate through you, Jen? I guess it is. It's a special permit aggregate on agricultural land, is that?
Yeah, so just from a clarification perspective, a lot of times the assessment from MPAC zoning assessment doesn't necessarily match land use planning zoning.
Mhm.
So that assessment is going to be based on the actual use on the property as opposed to land use planning zoning.
Right.
In this case, it is going to be zoned mineral aggregate extraction. But as you can see on the screen, this is the draft official plan amendment for the properties. So this northern, come on cursor.
Right.
This northern piece up here, that is going to be agriculture special policy, which is going to say it's still within the agricultural system and we are not removing those lands from the agricultural system. They're just also going to be permitted to have aggregate. When the site is done and it's rehabilitated, it will go back to the agricultural system again to maintain that agricultural system integrity.
So then they would have to restore it even if it's below the water table, because I heard if it's below the water table, they do not have to restore it back to agriculture.
So there are requirements in the PPS that do speak to the restoration to agricultural capacity.
Okay.
This is not going to be reinstated to agricultural capacity. It's going to be a lake. Because the depth of the extraction is not feasible, and there's a few different tests that they have to demonstrate through their assessment. So the assessment has said, yes, it doesn't have to go back to the same agricultural state that it was. Mind you, there's no anticipated impact of like a lake being there because it's not going to impact the integrity of the entire system.
Understood. Any other questions from councils? You're very small on the screen, Dave. Do you have your hand up or anything?
Stop staring.
I'm not seeing any. Okay, so no other discussion on the application? Then I will, if you wanted the deferral, then I would entertain the deferral motion now with the reason as to why.
My reason for deferring is I just still wasn't comfortable with Explotech's mistakes and calculations. And I would hope that we could defer pending further discussion.
Okay, do we have a seconder for the deferral? Counselor Snutch. So the deferral is on the floor. Is there debate on deferrals? I've got an explanation as to why.
Through you, Your Worship, if I can just ask Ms. Dong to make sure that council is well aware of the impact if in fact a motion to postpone / deferral is actually moved forward in terms of the planning process.
Certainly. So if council chose to defer the application, we would need a clear reason for
Point of
that.
order.
Go ahead,
I'm just
Dave.
wondering, the mayor just said whether there should be discussion, and that question wasn't answered, and now we're having discussion. Mayor, can you please just clarify?
I need clarification on whether because I know at county we can't, but sometimes I get my agendas mixed up. Is there a discussion on deferral? There's clarification on it, but I have the reason for the deferral. We allow discussions on deferrals.
Through you, Your Worship, historically, Ramara's practice is that you do allow for conversation or discussion to occur with respect to postponement and or deferrals.
Okay, so we do allow discussion on it. So we can carry on with the discussion on the deferral. But it's the deferral we're discussing now. So go ahead, Jen. Thanks, Dave.
So if council were to choose to defer the application, we would need the reason for the deferral. And then you would have to have a timeline when the application would need to come back by and what you'd be looking for an answer for. During that time, the applicant could appeal the non-decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal.
Right. So you're not comfortable with the blasting that they're using is the reason? Okay, discussion on, I'm comfortable that they're going to use the provincial mandated regulation. So, I mean, that will come and go and those laws will change. I think really the argument is we got to start working on the province to come out with some stricter legislation around blasting. But on the deferral, comment? Yes.
Yeah, I don't think, I know you're uncomfortable, Dana, with the company that they're planning on using. And I don't think we can tell them what company they have to use.
So if there's no other comments on the deferral. Yeah, Dave, yes, go ahead.
Well, I think the bigger question about working with the province is how many more quarries are we going to allow in Ramara Township? Are we going to allow another 50 quarries so you can't even drive on the streets?
I don't know if we have a say on that, if the land's been identified by the province. And in fact, you're quite familiar, Dave, that we did vote against the one quarry that wasn't even on prime aggregate land, and we went to an OLT and lost. So it's a matter of, they're here. The rock has been designated, so the deal now is to get what we can for the citizens of the township. Like, I've voted against a lot of quarries since I've sat in this chair and lost every single one at every single OLT we've gone to. And they're here and they're operating. So now the deal is to get the best deal you can when it's within the regulations. So it's the haul route, and there will be another opportunity to make sure that the haul route is paved, brought up to our standards, and correct? And yes. So on the deferral, any other comments? Okay, all in favor of the deferral? All opposed? So it's a split vote, so it'd be defeated. So now the question would be on the motion on the floor. So as far as the motion, does anybody want it read again? I think we all know what it is. So I had a mover and a seconder, so all, we're in committee of the whole, no recorded vote here. So all in favor of the motion on the floor? All the opposed? 1, 2, 3, defeated. The motion is defeated. Thank you. So I will move on. It's a defeated motion, and now it's committee of the whole. It's not council, but it's a defeated motion. I'd look for guidance from the clerk's department.
Through you, your worship, if the motion is defeated, then ultimately it will not head towards the council agenda. So I'll ask Ms. Stong from a planning perspective, the impact of this and whether the actual application should just be received as information.
If there's no decision on the application, then it would just be rendered a non-decision. And then the applicant will proceed.
Sorry, I didn't hear the last part of your sentence.
Sorry, under the Planning Act, Dave, it would be rendered a non-decision. So which case, it's same thing, I guess, they would petition the OLT or something.
It'll
for a
go to the
decision.
OLT, yeah.
Yeah. So, yes, go ahead.
What have we spent so far on OLTs for denying and OMBs and?
I will actually stop you on that one because the vote has been taken. So
No, just
this
out of
we're getting
curiosity.
clarification on what happens now. So it's defeated as for today. It's over. We move on to the next item. If I'm looking at it correctly, and then we can get a report on what the next steps are. I guess being on this, would there be a report coming to explain next steps? Or no?
Unless council requested a report for next steps, but if there's no decision on the application and no deferral, then there's just no decision on the application. So the applicant will have to proceed to the OLT.
All right. Councilor Goff.
Is
you
it
looking for a report?
Well, yes, that too, but isn't it better to accept this and then January 26th at council? Maybe we'll have a full council here and we won't have a.
Sorry, point of
No,
order.
we've already, no. We've already defeated the motion to defer. The motion was called, the vote was called, it's dealt with, but if you'd like a report of next steps, I would entertain that now. If any counselor wants a report, moved by Counselor Goff of next steps, then that's something that we could bring. And that would come to a committee of the whole. It wouldn't come to council, correct, Madam Clerk?
That's
Would come to a future committee of the whole. Second by Counselor Fisher. If anybody wants a report on what next steps are.
Could we do that and include receive as information? Because I think it's important. We have to receive this as information at this point.
Okay, so we receive his information and get a report on next steps.
Through your worship, certainly a member of council could introduce that motion to receive it as information and that staff prepare a report on, prepare a report on next steps.
Yep.
Which will include the, I assume, the requirement to hire legal if in fact this matter does go to OLT.
Right, so.
I'm fine with that.
Fine with the amendment. So is Counselor Fisher are fine with that. We should put it on the screen if we can, and then I'll call the vote.
Just a moment to prepare that, your worship.
No do-overs, as they say.
That report BPO 126 regarding official plan and zoning bylaw amendment files OP-423 and Z-1123 be received as information, and that staff be directed to provide a report to committee of the whole about next steps related to BPO 126.
I'm sorry, Dave, that it was moved by Councillor Goff, second by Councillor Fisher. Any questions on the motion? All in favor? All opposed? Opposed, okay, motion's carried. So let me just see to where we are on my agenda here. So, previous meeting, okay, I think we're on to 11 points. No. Oh, yeah, that was the big one. So yeah, 11.6. Oh, rise. That's what we had on the committee agenda. Rise and report.
That the recommendations of the committee of the whole be referred to the next regular meeting of council to be held on January 26, 2026, with the exception of the following items, which shall be referred to the consent agenda later today. Motions arising from closed session item 11.1.2, report ADO 126, physician recruitment, and departmental report items 11.5.1, engineering technical review services, goods and services procurement bylaw, OP-1/25, and Z-4/25, Kingfisher North Extension, and that committee of the whole rise and council be reconvened at 12:38 p.m.
Okay, everybody's, I'll get a mover and a seconder. Move that we rise. Councillor Goff, second by Councillor Fisher, and the ones with the in-camera, we're going to ratify today along with the consultant for the Kingfisher. And what, I think that was it for today, was it not?
Through your worship, the closed session matter regarding
Yes.
Dr. Recruitment and Kingfisher, yes.
Yes, okay, perfect. They will be approved today. So all in favor of rising? That is carried, and we are back in council now. So now we are on 12. So I have consent reports from previous meeting. Yes, so I have 12, which is 12.1.1.
That report BP 4725 dated November 21st, 2025 regarding interim control bylaw feasibility and effect aggregate be received, and that staff be directed to seek legal advice regarding the feasibility and effect of an interim control bylaw regarding aggregates, including impact on current and future development applications, and that council authorize up to a total of $10,000 allocated from the legal fees account in the planning division.
Okay, can I have a mover and a seconder to put this on the floor? Moved by Councillor Snutch, second by Councillor the Deputy Mayor. So this is approved to look into the bylaw. Now, I guess we're already going to be facing legal costs now within the other as well. So I actually won't support the motion now. I've read all the information. If you're going to put a short, they've changed the legislation. I know we put it in place years ago on, I think it was the grow ops at one time, and it might, no, short-term rentals, I think it's the first time we used it. Maybe it was, and it could not be challenged within the first year. You can put it on. Now it can be challenged. So now we have to have grounds why we're doing it. So, and I've read everything in the Planning Act, and I can't see what our grounds would be. And I'm convinced of that. Now, I guess the question is, do you want a legal opinion on that? So that's council's purview, whether you want the legal opinion or not. David, go ahead, Councillor Snutch.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the last vote we just had shows the reason we need to do this. Mr. Mayor, not respectfully, I got the impression that you voted not to defer the LCP because you thought there was nothing and we would lose at the OLT. Not that you personally thought it was the best thing for the Township of Ramara. I think we have to look at how do we protect the residents in the Township of Ramara by being overrun by so many quarries that don't contribute to the community. So I'll be voting But I just think it shows why not study it. Maybe there's something else that can be done. Like many municipalities are doing. We have to have an environment where we can all live happily without being overrun. We have too many quarries. The ones we've got are fine. We have to figure out a way to make this better for the residences. How many truck accidents are we going to continue to have? Does our fire department even have the right equipment to deal with the extraction thing that's needed for these quarry trucks that continually go off the road? And do we even know how many trucks are going off the road? I know one of the residents did something a long time ago about how many accidents was happening with the quarries, but how many lives are we willing to lose because these trucks are, and the quarries have no control over these drivers because they're all subcontractors. And I think we need to study this. And that's all I'm asking for, is that we study through an ICBL what we can do to make Ramara Township a better place for the residents.
Maybe a question through the CAO. You've almost convinced me, Dave, can we tie a legal opinion on our previous item, add it to this as an amendment as well, that we get a legal opinion on the quarry that we just had the non-action on? Could that be part of this report within the 10,000, or do you think you need the full 10,000 just for the IC bylaw?
Through your worship, I know that we have been getting estimates, so I'll ask Ms. Stong to speak to what the estimates are looking like for just the matter regarding the ICBL. And then from there, if there's a desire to either expand that amount and to expand that overall request.
The amount that we were quoted to investigate the feasibility of the interim control bylaw was between $5,000 and $10,000.
Okay. Again, they would use what they use, not necessarily the amount that we're approving here, correct?
That is correct, your worship. With respect to the other matter, what I would suggest is when that matter appears before council at the end of January, certainly you could at that point to amend that to ask for a legal opinion. That could be an opportunity.
Perfect. All right. Well, you convinced me, Dave. Councillor Fisher, go ahead.
I don't know. I think we kind of need that $10,000 now for the one that we just denied, but I just want to, I take a little bit of issue with something that you said, Councillor Snutch, about quarries not contributing anything to any of our residents. I'm pretty sure we have quarries that contribute significantly to our trail system and through other fundraising and donation efforts within the municipality. So they do actually contribute to our municipality. So I just did want to point that out there.
Thank you.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. If the councillor is going to suggest that they are contributing to trails, I would really like to know the facts of that, as we are all supposed to make truthful statements on that.
Okay, very briefly here, and I want to move on with our agenda. Yes.
I'm pretty sure it was donated material down at the trail on Ramara Road where the metal sign is erected there, as well as they've also contributed and are in the process of contributing to the Athabee Community Center Board for their revitalization down at their waterfront.
So there's a couple examples, and we'll leave it at that. Okay, Councillor Goff, did you have a comment? Then I'll call the vote.
Yeah, we just approved our official plan. It's now sitting at county. And all this was looked at regarding quarries. We spent how many years getting our official plan right? And it's supposed to be the best in Simcoe County. And now we're putting in an interim control bylaw because we didn't, or investigating an interim control bylaw because we didn't do our work on the official plan. I think we're spending up to $10,000 on something that we don't need to spend it on.
Good comments, but I guess it's council looking for a legal opinion, so Councillor Snell, I will support it then. So any other comments? All in favor of the motion on the floor? All opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. We'll get our legal opinion. So next I will go to consent, vote A on the consent agenda items. So those are the ones that we move forward from today, I believe. Does anybody require one that pulled for a separate vote? Any of the, I never heard anybody ask for a separate vote on any of the items, so we'll vote on them now. These are the reports that we dealt with today, the 2 in-camera items and the one to get the engineers for the Kingfisher Northern Extension. So that will be approved today. I'll get you to read the motion, Madam Clerk.
That recommendations as set out on consent agenda B, reports from current meeting for the regular meeting of council held on January 12th, 2026 be adopted as presented, including the following items. 13.1.1, motions arising from closed session item 11.1.2, report AD01 26 physician recruitment, and 13.1.2 departmental reports item 11.5.1 engineering technical review services, goods and services procurement bylaw OP-125 and Z-4/25 Kingfisher North Extension.
Okay, everybody familiar with what's on the floor? Because there were no other items from the previous meeting, so we've kind of moved ahead on our agenda to the ones from today's meeting. So can I have a mover and a seconder for those 3 items? Moved by the deputy mayor, second by Councillor Goff. Obviously can't comment on the in-camera ones. Any questions or comments? Just had the discussion on everything. All in favor? Opposed of any? Dave, in favor? Oh, I can't hear you.
If I could just ask, I'm trying to find the Kingfisher requirement. I just can't remember quickly. I'm just trying to find it unless someone can summarize for me.
Yes, it is, what item was it? Joe, do you have it?
Well, we're going into consent agenda C, right? And
Right, so it's
there.
actually from from our committee of the whole. It was the first item, I believe, after the closed session. So item 11.5, which was to hire the consultant to oversee the Kingfisher quarry. Because of our consultant that we're using now has a conflict of interest, so we had to hire another consultant.
I apologize. Brain
Yep.
lapse. Yes.
All right, you're in favor? Thank you. That was carried. Yeah. So, okay, we are now on to the information items. Yeah, 14 point. I think we've done with 13 and 12 are all completed because there was no motions pulled for separate votes. So we are now up to the consent item C, which is 14.1, and they've all been pulled for comments. So of the 14s, does anybody want separate motions than what's here? And then I'll get my highlighter and I'll mark.
Yeah, I'm just going to ask for clarification. It is only information. Do I have a conflict of interest with 14.11 because they are customer back and forth? Should I step into the, I'm not sure.
Why don't we do it with you've declared it. So 14.11 is the registry on, is that the one? NRK, yeah. So I'll let you go. We'll discuss that one separately or pull it for later. Do you want to do the, well, let's do it now. Let's just do it now. Let's not confuse everybody. We'll do them in order. So. Yeah. I forgot about the conflict. So, okay. So discussion, questions, comments, go ahead, Councillor Tuyuk.
Thanks. Yeah, I pulled that one, not necessarily to change the motion, but just to discuss and ask a question. So given the significant weight carried by municipal ERO submissions, I'm really happy to see that staff will be or have submitted comments before the January 15th deadline. Can you confirm if staff's comments are framed as an objection related to traffic, haul route impacts, and disruptions to local residents, as well as environmental impacts related to noise, dust, and light pollution, and potentially devastating impacts to surface and groundwater?
Jen.
Thank you. So far we have sent a letter directly to the ministry letting them know that it doesn't meet the official plan and zoning bylaw. So the CIP indicates that we're going to send in some preliminary comments and then we're going to come back on January 26th with a full comprehensive amount of comments that we are going to submit to the ERO as well. We are raising concerns about the use not being permitted, acceptance of soils at any time increase, and all of the impacts that could have on traffic and all the things that you're speaking to. So I can't say exactly that it's exactly those words, but it does raise concerns, being that we don't have any studies to justify that this property can support the land use. So.
Right, and this was an OLT hearing, or OMB, I guess it was called at that time, and it was very specific over what they were allowed to treat on those properties, and what they're asking for now is outside of that settlement. I also had concerns, and again, we'll get it on the report when it comes at the end of January. I know when they did their site plan, there was quite a back and forth because the stormwater management pond, we made them build it larger. So they can't handle any more material than what they're handling now, according to all of our engineering studies, correct?
We need to see that the changes that they're proposing are accommodated on site. So if they're increasing the impervious area on that property, we need to make sure that their stormwater management can support that change. Absolutely. And those requirements will be done through any amendments. Like, yes, they're subject to site plan control, but they are also not in line with the land use planning. So they'll have to demonstrate that at both stages.
Okay, yeah, Councillor Tuyu, sorry, I didn't mean to intervene.
Thanks. No, that's okay. I was just hoping for that clarification because it wasn't really clear to me if voting on this application, if it's within municipal purview, or does the approval with this lie with the province?
Yeah, so it's not, just for clarification, there's no voting on an application at this point. It's just submitting comments to the ministry.
Perfect. Councillor Snutch.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just wondering a couple other things about this that maybe staff can look into or provide in their comments. But the thing that struck me is they want to bring in contaminated soil from all of Canada. I mean, how bad must this soil be for nobody else in Canada to take it except for Ramara Township? It doesn't make sense to me. It just seems quirky. The second thing is we're supposed to be under a small financial agreement, and I'd like to be updated on the revenue projections and the revenue collected under this agreement to date. And then every other comment that I would have has already been talked about because it's the same issues we have with the trucks and all that type of stuff. So one, why all of Canada? Well, what are we missing that they need to go to all of Canada to get this contaminated soil? And two, what is the financial impacts? And maybe they could even expand the financial impacts to what I said before. Do we even have the ability, maybe ask fire department, to deal with these large truck crashes that are carrying this material? Do we have the ability to clean up contaminated soil in our ditches? So if those things could be included, today we're just receiving as information, but if those things can sort of be included in things that all of council can consider, I think it would be wise.
Okay, I see Jen take a note, so then we will look for the report at the end of the month. So I would now look for the motion to receive. I will get my clerk to put that up. This is a big one, folks. We'll be spending some money on this one.
As the General Manager of Development Infrastructure correspondence dated December 22nd, 2025 regarding Environmental Registry of Ontario posting proposed amendment to environmental compliance approval number 6332-A2GNRY NRK Holdings Inc. be received as information.
Moved by, we're just receiving, Councillor Tuyu, second by Councillor Goff. All in favor of receiving? That is carried. If we could get my deputy mayor back, and we'll, oh, there we are. So what I'll look for now, on items 14.12 to 14.15, is it all discussion, or does somebody wish a separate motion on one of them? Councillor Tuyu? Okay, so we'll get a separate motion on that one, and if there's no others, it's just for questions and clarifications. So on 14.12, questions or comments, because then one motion to receive them all would work. So So 14.12 is just the recycling again. I assume you brought it here just to highlight the attention of it. Go ahead, Councillor Tuyu.
Yes, sorry. I know that you spoke to it a little bit when we opened the meeting, but there are some outstanding concerns from residents who weren't quite sure how the new changes would be impacting recycling pickup specifically for municipally owned community centers. That was something Longford wasn't sure about, and I promised I'd take back. And private tenants living at the St. Columkill Church. They weren't quite sure how they fit into all of this.
Oh, I'm not sure on the tenants, but I know any commercial businesses, have been dropped. Even if they're only putting one out, they are no longer being gathered. But I thought some of the institutional and some of the municipal buildings were still covered. So I'm not, what was the first one you mentioned?
Municipally owned community centers,
Yeah,
like Longford.
I'm not, can we find out on that one? I'm not sure on who's, if they're still in there, because I know the schools were re-included because originally they weren't going to be. And I think municipal buildings were, and it is a municipal building. So we'll follow up on that one. And the other one was church, tenants. If it's a commercial zoning, it would be no, but if it's a residential, I think it is covered. So it'd be residential. They should still be getting the service. Well, unless it's multi-residential.
Oh, okay. So if it's more than one tenant, it would be considered multi-residential?
Right. And then I believe they have to get their own haulers, I believe.
Okay, thank you. I'll pass that along.
Okay, or call that 1-800 number that I pointed out earlier. Dave, go ahead on that one.
Yeah, that's the question. I'll ask it to you, Mr. Mayor. Is there any plans out there, because these commercial businesses that need to recycle, is there going to be anything to stop them from just throwing it into the Simcoe waste?
No.
In the waste collection? And what is the plan there? Because there's going to be a lot of it, I would assume.
Well, this was one of our concerns. So now we're going to have to monitor the waste and then make a decision further whether the only option would be no longer provide the waste pickup, which we don't want to do. Like these folks originally came to us, they're still getting the organics pickup. They're still getting the waste pickup. We're hoping that they will still do proper recycling because it's these businesses that approached us in the first place because they wanted to take part in all these programs. And we haven't given up lobbying with the province on it, but at this point, they have no intention of changing that contract. So it's a wait and see, Dave.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, on that, yes, go ahead, Joe.
Mr. Mayor, you might be able to answer this. With Simcoe County no longer being involved with the recycling program, what happens if one of the bins is broken or you need a replacement? Right.
Oh boy, yeah. It's that company you have to call now to purchase it because they did buy the bins off of county. They paid for them. They bought the bins away from us and it's no longer ours.
Okay, well then maybe we should have that in some of our messaging that goes out to our residents.
Okay. I see Melissa looking over. So now 14.14 discussion on that one. Questions? That is the one, strategic coordinator regarding township annual accessibility status report. Yes, go ahead, Councillor Tuyu.
Yes, I think.
No, it's separate vote motion on 1.3.
Okay, I pulled this one mainly because I would like to use the opportunity to give a little bit of a shout out to all of the great work Terry and Kyle and staff from both Ramara and Severn are doing with the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee and to celebrate the new bench outside of the Ramara Center, thanks to some quick action and cooperation with our mayor. And sorry, Colton, have you got that photo? There it is. Councillor Fisher was there doing all of her library activities and just happened to see it finishing being installed by the team there. And it's great for residents, especially in this faintingly hot summer. We had to have somewhere to sit after they come out of the library and are waiting for a ride.
Without mentioning their name, I'd like to thank the individuals that suggested it. We got an email making that suggestion, but I won't mention their name. So I want to thank them for that. Perfect. So now 14.14 comments. And that is the Municipal Affairs and Housing on, that's the MZO. Go ahead.
Yes, just since I wanted to bring this up, since not everybody necessarily reads the CIP, I would just like the public to know that the province turned down the MZO.
On the Ramara Road corridor, the one And part of it is now they're encouraging them to go through they have changed the municipal act and now they can apply for
Planning Act.
a planning act. So now they can actually apply through the planning act and that's what they've been encouraged to do. So with that, the motion to receive those ones, and then I will go back and do 14.13. Oh, Dave, comment, Dave?
I just had one other question. If I can just back up to the recycling. Does that mean that all of Simcoe County's waste depots will no longer accept recycling materials?
We will, but at a charge because it's now a cost to us. So yes, we will still be receiving at those, but there will be a charge.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah.
That the recommendations as set out on consent agenda C, correspondence for the regular meeting of council held on January 12, 2026 be adopted as presented, including the following items. 14.1.2, County of Simcoe province-wide recycling change. 14.1.4, Township of Ramara 2025 accessibility status report. 14.1.5, Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing request for Minister's zoning order, Township of Ramara 5638 and 5638 Williston Side Road. And with the exception of the following items, which shall be discussed and voted upon separately. 14.1.1, Environmental Registry of Ontario posting. 14.1.3, Township of Machar opposition to proposed consolidation of conservation authorities.
Okay, so a mover and a seconder to approve the three that we just had discussion. You moving, Dave, or you got a question? You're muted.
I can move it and then I'll have a question afterwards.
Okay, moved by Councillor Snutt, second by Councillor Goff. Go ahead, Dave.
I noticed in the way that was written, it looks like the MZO was only for Williston Side Road, but you said a minute ago it was for the Ramara corridor. Can I get clarification?
It is Williston Side Road. That's the actual address. It's in the Ramara Road destination commercial zoning, but you're right. It's not on the Ramara Road. It was on Williston Side Road. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so all in favor of receiving? Any opposed? I'm seeing none. That is carried. And now we're back to 14.13. Councillor to you.
Thanks. I was hoping to amend the motion that we receive and support because it's my opinion that there's a huge difference between the specific concerns for Lake Simcoe and the issues affecting, for example, Lake Superior. So the idea of lumping regions together is not something I'm comfortable with, given all the very specific advocacy required to protect our waterways. I worry also that it could result in reduced funding, but I would love to hear from Councillor Goff from his standpoint as sitting on the Conservation Authority Board.
Councillor Goff.
Thank you, Councillor. I know we had this conversation one night, and it is not the position of the Lake Simcoe Regional Conservation Authority to object to the different changes. They have actually sort of embraced it. They've made a couple of recommendations as to the Lake Superior not being part of the group. They wanted the Georgian Bay sort of section because basically the water flows from Georgian Bay into Lake Simcoe and further south. It actually opens up more funding streams for Lake Simcoe Regional Conservation Authority. The Lake Simcoe Regional Conservation Authority is actually the big player in the so Lake Simcoe protection isn't going to be watered down by helping some of these other conservation authorities. Many of the conservation authorities that don't even have a human resource director to deal with problems. They have a lot of equipment issues and they don't have the up-to-date I guess where they're receiving information on how the lake's doing, monitoring systems and that. Most of the 3 or 4 smaller conservation authorities don't have that. So it's actually going to be a win for Lake Simcoe Regional Conservation Authority actually growing stronger. And actually the city of Aurelia is going to be forced to actually join Lake Simcoe Regional Conservation Authority. They have no say about it. So the Conservation Authority will actually be receiving funds from the city of Aurelia moving forward. I think it's a good thing. I, like yourself, was kind of concerned, but then after being at the Conservation Authority meeting and listening to everything, it was sort of a, oh, that makes sense, right? Okay, now we can get Great Lakes funding because we have the different conservation authorities that are on Georgian Bay and Lake Huron. So it's actually a good thing. They did make some recommendations as to maybe specifics. If a municipality has two different conservation authorities that they were dealing with, town of Stouffville comes to mind, is that they had the Lake Simcoe Regional Conservation Authority. They also had the Toronto Conservation Authority. So to allow, one of the recommendations was to allow different municipalities to actually pick which one they would sooner be in. So instead of having two conservation authorities, they deal with one. So I don't agree with changing this. It's information, because that's not the position of what the Lake Simcoe Regional Conservation Authority, and what they've put forward as a recommendation is that Lake Simcoe be the anchor point and be in the name of the new conservation region.
I know I talked to them before when they'd already passed the motion to amalgamate with the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority. And the end goal was, we're hoping that instead of each municipality paying a bill, it'll be the region. So County Simcoe would pay the bill, and then each of the local municipalities. Now, again, Aurelia and Barrie are separated cities. They'd have to pay their own bill, but it would be covered by county instead of, so financially, better off for us as well if this goes through. Maybe what we could do is receive and maybe get, it's on our agenda for tomorrow, the comments that the Lake Simcoe Conservation Authority had, maybe get a copy of that, put on our CIP. It's a public document, and we could, because it's a couple pages. It's quite a read. So maybe if that was your amendment, I think council would certainly support that, and we'll get their comments put on our CIP.
Yes, thank you. I think that's a better amendment. I'd like to retract my original one. Thank you for confirming that. I think where we last left off, you were waiting on a meeting where you were able to confirm that it will actually be much more robust protections rather than less. So that'd be great to see that report, because I think it will be, for everybody to be able to understand it.
Now I'm looking at the clerks. Is that okay? Because it's not that the motion here, and we're looking for a report from the Lake Simcoe Regional Conservation Authority. I see it okay. It's on the same item, and we'll get their report put on our CIP.
So report for clarification, you're wishing to substitute this motion with that we receive and that we request a copy of the report to be posted on the next CIP?
Yes. Okay. Yes. It's over the same item. So moved by.
I had questions first.
Go ahead.
I'm just
Your
curious.
worship,
what happens
just
if we
further
voted this down and
clarification?
We don't agree with, like, we're opposing this letter and not supporting it.
Well, we're just receiving it. We're not endorsing it. It's just, it was item information off our CIP.
Okay, but, okay.
Worship, and just for clarification again, that's for the report regarding the proposed consolidation?
Yes,
Thank
they
you.
have,
For the Lake Simcoe Regional Conservation Authority.
yes, had their letter of input. I forget what's the title of it. It's in our county agenda. Yeah, I can't remember what it was called. It was their suggestions anyway to the province. So it's on the same item. So I'm going to tie the two together. That'll be my ruling if nobody objects. Yes.
That council received the Township of Machar correspondence dated December 23rd, 2025 regarding opposition to the proposed consolidation of conservation authorities, and then a copy of the report from the Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority regarding the proposed consolidation be requested and added to the next available council information package.
Okay, moved by, oh, yes, go ahead.
Can you put the motion back up there? Because it should say that we. With
The
that first
recommendations.
recommendation that we received the Township of Cars as information.
As information. Yes, no action taken, just receiving it as information. And the action we're taking is we're getting the Conservation Authority's list of suggestions on our next CIP. So moved by Councillor Tuyu. Are you fine with that motion? Second by Councillor Goff. Any questions? Any members of council? All in favor? That is carried, none opposed. Okay, that's items information. Regular meeting held, that one's done. Section C, items pulled, separate vote, we did. Correspondence for council direction. Okay, 15.1 we're on to now, and I have the Integrity Commissioner's findings.
That the Integrity Commissioner's final report dated December 9, 2025 regarding code of conduct complaint, final report, Councillor Sherry Bell be received, and that council adopt and enact the recommendation contained in the report to suspend Councillor Sherry Bell's remuneration for a period of 10 days for the breach of sections 5.3 and 18.1 of the Code of Conduct for insulting the mayor, and that council adopt and enact the recommendation contained in the Integrity Commissioner's final report dated December 9, 2025 regarding Code of Conduct complaint, final report, Councillor Sherry Bell to suspend Councillor Sherry Bell's remuneration for a period of 40 days for the breach of sections 5.1 and 5.13 of the Code of Conduct for making statements that were untrue.
Moved by Councillor Goff, second by Councillor Tuyu. Questions or comments on the report? Councillor Goff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Becomes very apparent that I actually made to put in this complaint. I just want everybody to know that this has been an ongoing issue with name calling since basically my first day back on council. We have staff members that sit close that are subject to hearing the name calling. I have more respect for this office and the proper decorum that needs to be in place here. The second part of my complaint, Councillor Bell questioned my integrity, saying that I breached procedure bylaw, which was untrue. She then went off after our CEO and challenged and more lies and untruths. That behavior can't be tolerated. We have a duty to perform our duties with respect and integrity, and it hasn't been happening here. In this case, it didn't happen. So,
thank you, Councillor. Yeah, the foul language aside, I guess the bigger concerning one is the false statements, and maybe I'll read from the report. The prohibition against making false statements or intentionally misleading others seeks to protect the integrity of council's role and political debate. The public puts trust in the members of council, and the Code of Conduct requires that those members do not knowingly or intentionally abuse that trust. In this case, the member accused other council members of lying in public, where the accusation of lying in itself was untrue. The public have the right to know which of their elected representatives are being truthful. And in the last sentence of the recommendation, the Integrity Commissioner recommends that council impose a suspension of remuneration for 40 days for the breach of section 5.1 and 5.13 for making a statement that were untrue. So again, that'll be another 40 days for making an untrue statement and 10 days for the language. So any other comments on it? Motion's on the floor. All in favor? Opposed of any? Motion is carried. Thank you. This was unanimous. We are now on to item 15.2, and that's the annual conference, which is coming up.
The council received the correspondence from the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO, regarding the AMO 2026 annual conference, and that the following members of council be registered to attend the AMO 2026 annual conference with expenses taking place from August 16th to 19th, 2026.
Who's going to AMO? Councillor Goff, Councillor Fisher, Councillor Tuyu, Councillor Snutch, any interest? Oh, you're muted again, Dave.
How many do we want to send?
that's there's no limit on how many we want to send. Every counselor is entitled to make the request. We've
And
got,
is this our last chance to make the request?
well, I've got 2, 4, 5 of us that are going to be in attendance right now.
Well, I think that's enough then.
All right.
All right. If you want me to go to support something, I will, but I think we've got enough representation.
Perfect. 2 of us are going on county, but there's 3 counselors going from Ramara. Okay, so we have Counselor Goff, Counselor Fisher, and Counselor Tuyu attending. Deputy Mayor, okay, so that'll be the motion.
Yes.
So moved by Counselor Tuyu, second by Counselor Fisher, all in favor. That is carried. Yep, that is carried. So, okay, next I have postponed motions, none, planning motions, I have none, but deputation motions, and I have 2 of them here, so.
Yes, that the deputation from Dr. Kim McIntosh, Lori Webel Edgar, and Jillian Fennick from the Couchiching Ontario Health Team regarding an update on concrete steps taken to address primary care gaps in Ramara be received as presented.
Okay, moved by the Deputy Mayor, second by Counselor Goff. Any questions on the motion? All in favor? That is carried. And now I have the one for the quarry, the presentation only.
That the deputation from James Newlands, Brian Zeman from LCP Quarry Limited regarding an update on application OP-423 and Z-1123 and steps taken to address outstanding comments from the public meeting and municipal peer review process be received as presented.
So to receive the deputation only, moved by Counselor Goff, second by Counselor Fisher. All in favor? That is carried. I don't have a notice of motion, or none was provided to me. Council motion with notions were previously given. I don't believe so, but I do have an inquiry motion. So moved by Counselor Tuyu, second by Counselor Goff. Go
That
ahead.
staff be requested to investigate the feasibility of reducing the speed limit on Orkney Beach Road from 50 kilometers an hour to 40 kilometers an hour and report back to council with findings and recommended next steps, including any required bylaw amendments.
On the motion, go ahead, speak, Counselor. I'll let you go first and the seconder.
Thanks. Yeah, this is a densely populated lakeside street with several blind corners and hills and families often out walking. They would feel safer if the speed were reduced.
Counselor Goff.
Yeah, I think this was just an oversight where in the past we thought we had made it a community safety zone and dropped the speed limit to 40 kilometers an hour, but apparently we didn't. And we've had numerous residents reach out and asked us to correct that. So that's why the inquiry motion.
That would come in a future meeting, not necessarily the next one.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the CAO.
That is correct.
All right. Okay. All in favor of the motion? Opposed, if any? That was carried. Thank you. So bylaws. Just have the one. That's Enbridge gas. I guess we have to agree that there.
Whereas
we
Bill
don't-
2026-01 being a bylaw to authorize a franchise agreement between the Corporation of the Township of Ramara and Enbridge Gas, Inc. was read a first and second time on the 24th day of February 2025 as Bill 2025.11. And whereas the Ontario Energy Board, by its order issued pursuant to the Municipal Franchises Act on the 4th day of December 2025, has approved the terms and conditions upon which and the period for which the franchise provided in the franchise agreement is proposed to be granted, and has declared and directed that an assent of the municipal electors in respect of this bylaw is not necessary. Be it therefore resolved that Bill 2026-01, previously Bill 2025-11, be considered read a first time, read a third time, and finally passed.
A lot different motion than I had in the agenda. Moved by
Yep.
Counselor Goff. And yeah, these are the ones we have to, there is nobody other game in town. Second by Counselor Tuyu. Questions or comments? Counselor Tuyu.
Thanks. I'm just hoping that somebody can explain what this means for residents who are very hopeful for accessibility to natural gas. Does this mean we're ready for phase 3 then, or no?
No, this is just giving them permission to be the gas provider in the municipality. There is no other game in town. So, and I don't think we even have a choice on the matter. It went down that road once. So if there's no other questions, All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Confirmation bylaw.
That bylaw 2026-02 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held on the 12th day of January 2026 be considered read a first, second, and third time and finally passed.
Moved by Counselor Tulowitzki, second by Counselor Snutch. All in favor? That is carried. And now everybody's on the edge of their seats.
That the council meeting of the Township of Ramara held on January 12, 2026 be adjourned at 1:21 PM.
The adjournment moved by Counselor Goff, second by Counselor Fisher. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you.